are up to Chav Dalid Amid Aleph, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth line, the two dots, Iboy Lahu. So it's very interesting. This is, um, it appears to be like sort of like a new sugya, and in fact, Taisvis asks that it seems to be out of order. So you'll see in a minute. We'll try to figure out why it's actually in order. But we'll do Taisvis. But I hope at the end it's not such a long daf. In fact, Amid Bais is a pretty short daf. But once we start talking Mefarshim, it takes longer. So here we go. So Gemara says, "Iboilahu." They asked the Shaila, "Ma'ula haskil shulchaneka b'birchas hamazon." What's the Shaila? We all know we're smarter than the Gemara, right? We know that we do say ala nisim in benching, but in the time of the Gemara, they weren't sure. Iboilahu, it was a Shaila. What was the Shaila? Shaila was like this. So all the other mentions in benching are about deraisis. Now, if you think about Yalav Yavai, so they're all deraisis. Even Rosh Chodesh is a deraisa. But Purim and Chanukah are clearly a derabanan. So right now we happen to be talking about Chanukah because, as Taisus points out, this is the sugya of Chanukah in Perek Bameh Madlikim. But really, it applies to Purim also. So maybe we don't mention because these things are the rabbanans. Or maybe that because of Persum Nisa, we do mention it. So the Gemara is going to start with Rayas. So I just want to show you this Taisvis, very interesting Taisvis. Taisvis says it's if you do the new Taisvis, so it's the third Taisvis. Gzeira, Tanya, and then Iboilahu. So Taisvis says, Tema, what's this doing over here, right? So I will suggest one teretz over here to Taisa. Taisa doesn't give a teretz. Taisa doesn't seem to have a teretz. So if you take a look in the Rishonim, there is another teretz. So the Rajba and the Ran both say v'yeshlachu shema yavoi la Taisa b'Shabbos. That what's the shaila over here? It really goes back that. Let me go actually a little bit further. So they say in other words, that really we're connecting this to the earlier sugya, but the Rashash is most of you don't have it in the back of the Gemara, but if you have it in the back of the Gemara, the art scroll doesn't have it. But if you have it in the back of the Gemara, so the Gemara says, the Rashash says like this, very interesting. Mishum kacha Gemara loydona b'shem and sreifa ad achrei asugis shel Chanukah. How come we actually deviated? We digressed. I don't know, but deviate is the right word. What we digressed to the shaila of shem and sreifa, of burning, the type of truma that you have to burn because it's tamei. What does it have to do with anything? So he says because b'chdei lahashlim is kol dini aneris biyachat. So the Rashash says that we had to deal with all the shilas about Neiris so that we could go on to other shilas about Chanukah. So I thought, I'm nobody, but I thought that the Rashash made a lot of sense. In other words, Taisvis asked, I can't Chas v'shalom disagree with Taisvis. Taisvis just raised the issue. But the Rashash says a very interesting thing, that first we had to deal with all the issues about Neiris. And that includes if you can have a Nair where you're burning Shem and Shil Sreifa, and then we went from Shem and Sreifa, so we went to the whole sugya about Shemayata. And then now that we're finished with all that, we can go back and answer other shilas about Chanukah that have absolutely nothing to do with Neiris. So Taisvis' kasha was, what was the basis of Taisvis' kasha? Taisvis thought that the more logical structure of the construct of the Gemara would be deal with everything about Chanukah, and the Gemara should have dealt with Alanisim on Chanukah also. Let's deal with all it's like these are structural questions. So, but later, if we have time, I'll show you where Reb Chaim makes it more lumdish. In other words, all these paiskim, including the Rishonim, they talk about the structure of the sugya. Reb Chaim makes it into a lumdus. Okay, but it's not for now. So let's go weiter. Amar Rava, Amar Rav. So Amar Rava, Amar Rav. So this is going to be Rav's din. I'm sorry. Amar Rava. Yeah, Amar Rav, right. Amar Rav Schayra, Amar Rav Huna. It's really going to be Rav Huna's din. So he says, so uh, maybe let me say, yeah. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Schayra, and a maskir. So he says, so this is the shaila. Maybe it's not a deraisa, but it's very important because of pursuing Nisa. So what was Rav Huna's din? And a maskir. So he says, no, you don't mention al anisim in benching. Now, by the way, in case you have an interesting good kasha, which is one of those famous like halakhic trivias, there's no trivia in halacha, but it's not in the Gemara, it's only in the later Rishonim and early Achrayim. What about ala michya? Because the everybody knows this without my telling you, right? That the maskon of our whole sugi is that we do say ala nisim in benching. Right, both Chanukah and Purim, but we don't say it in Ala Michya. The question is why? Reb Kivega raises that, and others, and a little bit you can be Medayik and Rishonim. So I'm going to save that for later on. So Amar Rav, Amar Rav Schayra, Amar Rav Huna, and a Maskir, V'Bala Haskir, Maskir Boido. Oh, but if you want, in other words, it sounds like this. It's not a mechitza, chatzitza, a kasha that if you do saying it mentioning like you interrupted, you made a hafsaka. No, that's not a problem. In bola haski means if you want to, you may. Masker, where you going to mention it in rachem, right? Hoido, right? Rachem, no. So you're going to mention it in noidlucha. So not rachem, in noidlucha, right? Because noidlucha is hoido. So where do we say al anisa mishman esra in hoidah? So since benching has hoidah, so wait a minute, by the way, that's the teretz of many paiskim to ala michya, because in ala michya there's no hoidah. So if there's no hoidah, there's no makam for Chanukah and Purim, even a reference to ala nisim. Because the kasha was, why don't we say a short version of ala nisim? The answer is there's no hoidah anyway. That's what most Rishonim say. So anyway, so this is what the Gemara seems to hint at. Now, Gemara brings a ma'aser. Rav Huna bar Yehudah ikla lebei Rava. So he went to Rava's yeshiva during Chanukah. Sovalat kurei b'bayni Yerushalayim. So in those days, they didn't have these halachas worked out. There was no Shulchan Aruch. So when he was saying benching, so he was going to say al anisim in bayni Yerushalayim. By the way, just as an aside, it's very much of an aside, but for you Chaim Balinas, so this is not an aside, this is Torah min hashamayim. The Gra holds that you say B'nai Yerushalayim Amen. The rest of us say B'nai Barachma Yerushalayim Amen. So from the Gemara, since it's called B'nai Yerushalayim, you don't find the word Barachma. I think this is just little old me, that's the Gra's, one of the Gra's sources that the bracha is B'nai Yerushalayim without the word Rachma. Even though the Gra says Beferish, I think it's in one of the others from Nanabir Gra, that the reason is because it says Tzion b'mishpat tipada v'shaver b'tzedakah. So Yerushalayim can stand on its own 2 feet with din, with mishpat. That says Tzion b'mishpat tipada. It will be redeemed with mishpat, and therefore to say B'nai Barachmav is an insult to Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim doesn't need rachman. It's like a guy has $1 million in the bank. Right now, he's, he can't get to the ATM because of Corona. So you'll say he's a poor man. Chas v'shalom, right? He's not a poor man. So the Torah says the same things by Klal Yisrael and Yerushalayim. All right? That's the Gra. So anyway, B'nai Yerushalayim, he wanted a Rava, when Rav Huna bar Yehudah came to Rava's yeshiva, so he wanted to say, Al Anisim in B'nai Yerushalayim. Amalu Rav Sheshes, so Rav Sheshes said to the Rabbanim, Kitfila, he brought a riot to Rava. He said, absolutely, let's do it like Tfila, but not Tfila by Dah, but that doesn't work, because Tfila, where do you say it in Hodah? Savirchas Hamazon by Dah. So he thought, maybe we'll do it like in Tfila, but then he took a look, where do we say it in Tfila? In Hodah, like we said before. Now the Gemara says another shayla. So now this is an interesting shayla, but it's a totally different shayla. As like Taisus was pointing out before, it's a little bit of a kasha. Why is this in the sugya? But it seems that once we're talking about benching already, so we'll take care of another couple of shaylas of Yomim Tovim on benching, like Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh, and we all know that we do say Yalav Yav and Rosh Chodesh, but the Gemara had a shayla. Gemara says, Im timtza loymar. So even if you say that you should say it, b'Chanukah d'Rabbanu lo tzarich, that on Chanukah, which is only the Rabbanu, you don't say it, but Rosh Chodesh d'Oraisa tzarich, Rosh Chodesh we should say it. Adilma, chima d'le'asa b'asiyas malacha, Rosh Chodesh is not, there's no issa malacha, so therefore, loy maskerinon, maybe it's dependent on asiyas malacha. So Rosh Chodesh has a lot of nice aspects, but it's not asa b'malacha. So it's interesting that a lot of Rishonim sort of allude to a whole like structure over here that why should it be totally in asiyas malacha? So if we remember what we learned in Masechta Brachos, a lot of the Tayvim, their kedusha comes from the fact that it's a mikra kodesh. And what does a mikra kodesh mean? Asiyas malacha is asur. So many Rishonim seem to indicate that Rosh Chodesh doesn't have that, so maybe it shouldn't even have Yalav Yava. So Gemara says a machlokes. Rabbi Mamasku, Reb Chanina Oma Eda Maska. So it's a machlokes. So now the Gemara wants to bring a raya to Rav. The Rav says that you should say, and we do say halacha l'maisa. We say Yalav Yava on Rosh Chodesh. Amar Reb Zrika said, the Koi de Rabbi Yadcha, stick to Rav's opinion. The Koi Rabbi Shikavase, because Rabbi was an expert in brises. The Tana Rabbi taught a brise that said like this. It says, Yom Sheish Ben Carbon Musaf, any day when there's a carbon Musaf, you go to Rosh Chodesh v'Chalamayed or Arvis v'Shachris or Milcha Mispal Shmona Esrei. So when you're davening either at night or in the morning or Mincha, so what do you do by any of these Shmona Esreis? So v'Oimer me'eina ma'oira ba'avoda. So in the bracha of avoda. So that means in Ritzei, you're going to say Me'ena Ma'oira. Me'ena Ma'oira means you mentioned the event. What's the event? Rosh Chodesh. V'im loy Omar, and if you didn't say it, Machzir, so he's got to daven over, at least go back to where he started from. Ve'ein b'hem kiddush ala kois, but we don't say kiddush. There's no kiddush on Rosh Chodesh. V'yesh ben haskaros b'birchas hamazon. But in mention we say Yalav Yava. So that was the Gemara said so far. Now, Yom Shem Bem Carbon Musaf. So now, what about days when there's no Musaf? Kigon Sheni v'Chamishi v'Sheni. Now, we'll soon see that the correct year says really Sheni v'Chamishi, Monday and Thursday. V'Tiny Yosum Mamados. So now, what are the tiniest? Tiniest are days when they used to fast Monday, Thursday, and sometimes Monday, Thursday, Monday, like Bahab. But they fasted. Let's say there was like today we'd probably have a lot more fasts if because of Corona. So they made already a couple of Tanaisim, and now it's Chodesh Nisan, we don't make Tanaisim anymore. But we would have had a lot of Tanaisim because it's a tzara, it's an Magefa. And the Gemara says in Tainis, when there's a Magefa, we make a lot of Tanaisim. So when do we do it? Usually Monday, Thursday, and sometimes there's another Monday. The Taniyos, that's Taniyos Tamazai, or Mamadis. And the Mamadis also, what they did was that the people that fasted were the people that were in the Beis Hamikdash representing Klal Yisrael. So there's the Kaihanim, or what they do the Avodah, and the Leviim, Beshirim, Bezimram. And what do the Yisrael b'Mamadam? That's what it says, right? Yisrael b'Mamadam. So they used to stand there by the karbanis. They, like for instance, like a carbon tamid, somebody has to press down what we called smicha the other day. Smicha, you press down on the carbon. So who did that? The people by the Mamadas. So if there was a fast day, so the people by the Mamadas also fasted. Not everybody always fasted, and they did this. So now the Gemara says, "Sheni v'chamisha ma'avidatai." What does this have to do with Monday and Thursday? So in other words, there's no musaf. There's no musaf on Monday and Thursday. Stop Mondays and Thursdays. The Gemara says, "Ella, it must be Sheni v'chamisha v'sheni shel tiny ma'amadas." So it means the Monday, Thursday, Monday. So Gemara says, "Arvis uv'shachas u'milcha mispal shemana esrei." So at night and in the morning and in the afternoon, you say shemana esrei. V'omer me'ena ma'oira b'shamei tefillah. And what do you add? You add anenu, right? So you say anenu. So, but if you didn't say it, you don't make them go back. Now some don't take this out because, of course, if it's a fast day, there's no kedusha ala kais. So, but others leave it in, and we'll discuss in a little while how you can leave it in. But you don't mention it in benching. So this is a raya over here that you don't add any of these things in benching. So now the Gemara is going to go into a little bit back to Ala Nisim. So they asked the Shaila, Ma'ula Haska Shul Chanukah b'Musafim. Oh, so here's the Shaila. On Chanukah, let's say that falls out, every Chanukah there's a Rosh Chodesh, and every Chanukah there is obviously there's a Shabbos, because it's 8 days, but it's also Rosh Chodesh Teves always falls out during Chanukah. So the Shaila is that during the Musaf, if it's the Musaf of Shabbos, so Shabbos is not really requiring al anisim. Chanukah is requiring al anisim, but on the other hand, Chanukah doesn't require a carbon musaf. So that's the shaila. So ma'ula haskell shel Chanukah b'musafim. So should we mention in the musaf al anisim or not? Where it says like this: Chiv the less be musaf bedidei loimat karina. Since Chanukah doesn't have its own musaf, so we should mention it. Adulma yoimu shechayv ba'arba tefillas. That day, it's a day that has 4 tefillas. That was really has more if he had Ma'ariv. But the Rishonim said we're talking about Shachris, musaf, then mincha, right, and then Ma'ariv at night. So even though Ma'ariv at night is already after. So anyway, so there's 4 tefillas. So during those 4 tefillas, so maybe we should say al anisim. So Gemara says it's a machlokes. Rav Huna Rabbi Yehudah Damar Tavaya. They said both said ein maskir. You do not mention al anisim in musaf. Rav Nachman Rabbi Yochanan. It's like 2 against 2, right? Rav Huna and Rabbi Yehudah versus Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Nachman Rabbi Yochanan Amri maskir that you do say. So Gemara wants to bring a raya to Rav Huna and Rabbi Yehudah that said that you do not say it. Okay, I'm sorry. If there's anybody that has a wonderful kindlech in the background, if you don't mind, mute it. Okay. I'm Rabbi, Rav Yosef. Rabbi said to Rav Yosef, Rav Yehudah, the Rav. So they follow Rav. The Amar Gidla Amar Rav, because Rav Gidla Amar Rav said, Rosh Chodesh Shechalias b'Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbos, so Amafter ben Navi b'Shabbos. So the one that's getting Mafter on Navi, right? That's also Rosh Chodesh. And it's Tzorach Lahaskell Shel Rosh Chodesh. You don't mention Rosh Chodesh because Rosh Chodesh doesn't really have a haftarah of its own. And we'll say like this: Shel Malei Shabbos ain't Navi b'Rosh Chodesh. Because if it wouldn't be for Shabbos, so we wouldn't lane from Navi on Rosh Chodesh. So Gemara says, no, that's not necessarily true. Midame, you can't really compare Hasam Navi b'Rosh Chodesh leka klal. On Rosh Chodesh, we never lane from Navi. But Hachi Yisa ba'Arvis v'Shachris v'Mincha. But Al Anisim, since we do say it at night, in the morning, in the afternoon, so why not add it to Musaf as well? So the Gemara says like this, that we're going to bring a raya from a different statement of Rav that will be a raya to Rav Huna and Rav Yehudah that you don't mention Al Anisim in Musaf. We said it's not a good analogy. Everybody agrees. So what is a good analogy? The Amar Rav Achadbai, Amar Rav Masna, Amar Rav said like this. Yom Tov Shechali is b'Shabbos. Let's say you have Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. Happens all the time, right? Like this year. You know, it's actually going to be Shabbos is going to be Shabbos Chol Hamoed, but it's going to come right after Yom Tov. So Amafter ben Navi ben Mincha b'Shabbos. So now we generally do not do haftarah on the Mincha of Shabbos. And it's Tzorach Lahaskell Shel Yom Tov. So those that do, so you don't have to mention Yom Tov. Shel Malei Shabbos ain't Navi ben Mincha b'Yom Tov, because since if it was only Shabbos. So it's if even if it would be Shabbos and Yom Tov, so Yom Tov we don't say ever a haftarah. Now, what was the pshat? When did they say the haftarah? So I want to show you a very, very interesting Rashi. Let me just point out where the Rashi is, and I'm going to make a brucha. So the Gemara Rashi says, "Ein Navi b'Rosh it's like the next to the last Rashi on the page. So Rashi brings a Truvas HaGa'ainim, which is a shock to us. Rashi says that they used to lane the Haftarah Shabbos Mincha. Rashi says this, and if you look up in the later Mefarshim, they'll tell you where this is in the Truvas HaGa'ainim. Show you Regilim Likos B'Navi B'Shabbos B'Mincha Asara Psukim. They always read at least a short Haftarah 10 Psukim on Shabbos Mincha. Ubemei Parsiim. So this was when the time of the Ga'ainim. Umebei Parsiim, during the Persian Empire, Gazug Zera, Shaloi Lasois, they stopped it. So apparently, some things, this is a very interesting topic. We can't go into it too much right now. But the halacha is that very often, if the Goyim had made a Gzeira on us, and when the Gzeira is over, so you restore whatever was done. So by Mincha, so they used to lane haftarah, and once the Gzeira was over, they didn't restore it. Why not? What's epis? So it seems, because he says that this was the Truvas HaGa'ainim. So it seems from Rashi, and the Achronim discussed this, it's a very important halacha, that if something is not in the Gemara, but the Ga'ainim did it, So it doesn't have the din of a regular Messiah of Torah Shabbal Peh. And if they stop doing it for some reason, you stop doing it. So now there's an opinion in the Rosh that says that Baruch Hu Baruch Shemai is also like that. A lot of people, like for instance, I'll give you an example. If you or I just made a bracha, I don't know if anybody answered amen or not, but nobody said Baruch Hu Baruch Shemai. And if somebody in your family tonight, Mirz Hashem, makes a bracha, you answer amen, but you don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shemai. In the Gemara, it doesn't say it either, but in the Gainim it says that you should say, the Rush brings it, that the Gainim said that you say Baruch Hu Baruch Shema in every bracha. How come we don't do it? Teretz says it fell into disuse because it was only started by the Gainim. And there's a lot of brachas like that we used to make, and now we don't make them anymore because the Gainim, we're not the Amarayim.
Don't some people say it's a hefsek by Tkiyah Shofar? Some Rabbanim say not to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shema because it's considered a hefsek.
Yeah, but
That's how much it's. Does that mean
by the bracha, you mean?
No, the bracha. I've been in shuls on Rosh Hashanah where the Rav gives a clap and he says, "Do not answer Baruch Baruch Shema during the entire Kehillas to any bracha because it's a hefsek."
Right, because then you're being yaitze. You're right. By the way, you're being yaitze, and you're absolutely right. What Yitzi's saying is because it came from the Gainim, it didn't come from the Gemara. Okay, I want to go a little bit today. I have to finish on time. Yesterday I had a little bit, and tomorrow, Mirz Hashem, I'll have a little bit of leeway. But tonight I don't because 8:15 I'm supposed to go right into Mirz Hashem into Haggadah Shel Pesach. Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara. So the Gemara said. So that was the end of Amud Aleph, right? So now we're going to go to Amud Bais. So the Gemara says, "V'leis hilchasa kechol hani shmaitza." So we don't paskin like all of these opinions. In other words, that we don't paskin like Rav Huna, Rav Yehudah, Rav Gidl, Rav Achadboi. So there is an opinion, though. That's what Rashi says. There is an opinion that we do paskin like Rav Gidl, which we'll soon see. Ela Yehudah Amar Rabbi Shua Levi. Who do we paskin like when it comes to Al Nisim? We paskin like Rabbi Shua Levi. That what did he say? Yehudah Amar Rabbi Shua Levi. Yom Kippurim shechalis b'Shabbos. If Yom Kippur falls on a Shabbos, hamispal ne'ilah tzorach lahaska shel Shabbos. So since it's Shabbos Yom Kippur, so by Ne'ilah, even though Shabbos doesn't have a Ne'ilah, right? So you see over here, Yoimushin is Chayiv Arba Tfilas. So even though really Yom Kippur there's 5 Tfilas, but on Yom Kippur day there's only 4. So since there's 4, and Ne'ilah includes Shabbos, you have to mention Shabbos in Ne'ilah. Okay, so now the Gemara says, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Kasha hilchasai hilchasa, there seems to be a steer to this. Amrit hilchasa Rabbi Shua ben Levi. You said that like Rabbi Shua ben Levi, but Kaimalan hilchasa Rava. And we also passed like this Rava. The Amar Rava, what did Rava say? That's a steer to Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Yom Tov shechali is b'Shabbos. If Yom Tov falls on a Shabbos, shliach tzibur hayored l'fnei hateva arvis. So the chazan for Ma'ariv, and it's tzorach lahaskel shel Yom Tov. He doesn't have to mention Yom Tov. Shel mali Shabbos. If it wasn't for Shabbos, a shliach tzibur yored arvis b'Yom Tov. So because the shliach tzibur would not go to do any kind of chazar sashatz, what do we do, Rabbi? So we have a mini chazar sashatz every Friday night. Yom Tov you don't have. On Leil Yom Tov you don't have. Only when Yom Tov falls on a Shabbos. So since it belongs to Shabbos, so you don't have to mention Yom Tov. That's how Rabbi Shua ben Levi paskin. So l'chayra, Rava holds that even if you're saying a tefillah that doesn't belong to Shabbos, like l'mashal ne'ilah, so you should say whatever it is. And the same thing for Al Nisim. Where it says no hachi hashta. That's not such a kasha. Why? Because Hasan bedinu that filu Shabbos nami leitzarich. The emes is that on Shabbos, you don't even have to say this mini chazar sashatz and magen avis. For Rabbanu who did tikkun mishum sakana. So we'll soon see what was the sakana. So, but there is a sakana. But over here, yoimushin is chayiv arba tfilas. But when we talk about ne'ilah, so ne'ilah is a day. The day was mechayiv. It wasn't the chacham said. Now, what were they worried about with Friday night? Why we have this special thing, and it's only for a regular minyan, by the way. It's not for a floating Friday night minyan. Now we have a lot of interesting situations, but Friday night minyanim, a whole regular time, not Corona time. So anyway, so the halacha is that it was only done because of people out in the boondocks where they used to be in the field. The shuls were very often in the field. And if somebody was late and they davened late, so that those Ma'ariv were late. The other Ma'ariv were very early when it was still pretty much a little bit light, and there were no shadim around, there were no marauders around, and there were no muggers around. But later on, they were afraid that in the dark, there's going to be Friday night, people are going to still be davening, and there'll be only one guy left or two guys left, and the shadim will get him, or the mazikim will get him. So therefore, they were mistake in this thing, worst comes to worst. So everybody has to daven a little bit more. The guy that davened, that started late, so he won't say that, big deal. And like we just said, it's not really me'ikar adin, and it's not such a chiyuv. It's not such a chiyuv, so it's a shah. It's enough that we have to say it on Shabbos. We certainly don't have to say it on Yom Tov. Okay, now
did we say the Rambam holds that we got rid of these guys a long time ago?
The Rambam does hold that there's no more shadim. It's true. But it seems that this takana, because the Rambam also holds of this takana, was also because of that's why I threw in, muggers, that they're just dangerous outdoors. That's all, not necessarily from shadim. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to the original Mishnah. The Mishnah said v'loy va'alya, that you can't light with fat from a sheep's tail. That's the fat sheep's tail, and also you can't light with any other fat. And then the Mishnah talked about Nocham Amadai. So Morah asks, Chacham Hainu Tanakama. It seems like, how come there's a Machlekas Tanakama and Chacham? There's no Machlekas. Morah says, Ikabenai Rav Bruna Amarav. It's Rav's din, which is Rav's din. But they never said who holds what. In other words, Lemisaimi means, okay, good, we'll say that it's a machlekas, the machlekas of Rabbuna Amarav. But we never said who holds what. And the Rishonim try to figure out who holds what, because the Gemara didn't say so. Okay, now we're going to go to the new Mishnah. This Mishnah was quoted before, so we should know it very well. It says like this: so we're now allowed to burn on Yom Tov the oil that has to be burnt already. Rabbi Shmuel Omer that this itron stuff, it doesn't make a nice candlelight, and it also burns. It makes like a bad smoke. It smells bad. So because of the covenant of Shabbos, Chacham hold that you can use anything. B'shem and shumshamin, you can use sesame. B'shem and egoizim, from nuts, from walnuts. B'shem and snunais, that's some kind of radishes. B'shem and dogim seems to be fish oil. B'shem and pakuais, that's some kind of an oil. I don't know exactly what it is. Some kind of another oil. Be'itron, so itron we just talked about has a bad smell. Of a naif that also has a bad smell. Rav Tarfon says, on Shabbos there's only one candle that you're allowed to do. Now I want to be honest with you. Most of our ladies do not light with olive oil, but the Maral Shita, if you want, Mitzvah Hashem, when we're back together, Be'ezra Hashem Yisbarach, I want to say Zvedavka in Shul, I'll show you my Maral Siddur. So the Maral Siddur is printed, the sheet of the Maral, he holds that, it's very scary to say, that we're not yaitze with paraffin, with wax, with all the regular candles, you're only yaitze with olive oil, and not even any other oil. Bill of flame. But we don't pass like the Maral, don't worry about it. But Maral next follow that shita. So anyway, so that's he passes like Reb Tarfon. So anyway, the Gemara says my timer. So why can't we light with Shem and Sreifa? So the Gemara answers L'fishein Sreifa Kachim b'Yom Tov, because on Yom Tov you're now allowed to burn Kachim. So that's why you're now allowed to use Shem and Sreifa. So now this is called on Yom Tov, right? Whereas the Menani Mili, how do we know this? So I'm a Chizki v'chein Tana the Bechizki. Not only Chizki said it, but in his yeshiva everybody knew it. On my quote, because the pasuk says v'lo sasiru mimenu ad baiker, v'noisim mimenu ad baiker. So shein tamulam ad baiker. So now it says over here that in this pasuk, so it says by the Korban Pesach, Mamish coming up, which is very negeya, that so Chizkiah said, it says you shouldn't leave it over, and if you did leave it over, then it says again ad biker. So shein tam b'loim ad biker, we know already what ad biker. We're talking about the biker the next morning. So mat tam b'loim ad biker, v'akos ulitin loy biker sheni l'sreifasai. You can't burn it on Yom Tov itself. You have to burn on the second morning, which is cholamayit. Right? Cholamayit, you can burn it, because cholamayit is a little bit like a regular day. It's chayil and it's mayit. Now Gemara says, Abaye Omar, he says a different source. On Makro, the pasuk says, Oila Shabbos v'Shabbatoi, on the carbon musaf that we bring on Shabbos, says Oila Shabbos v'Shabbatoi, v'lei Oilas Chol b'Shabbos. But you can never bring a carbon oila on Shabbos, v'lei Oilas Chol b'Yom Tov. And you can't bring a weekday oila, you can't burn it on Yom Tov. So for instance, let's say that you had a carbon oila that was not finished off right before Yom Tov, and Yom Tov came, so you can't put it on the fire. So Rabbi Amakra, Rabbi said he had a different raya. What's the raya? It says Hu levada yeyosa lochem. So it says that in this pasuk, the pasuk, if you look on the side, so the pasuk says that when you bring this carbon, so it says Hu levada yeyosa lochem. So you can't do any work except for what a person that's going to eat from the carbon. So Hu v'lei machshirin. So this means like this: that any Yom Tov. So this is, by the way, a parak. We're going to learn it soon in parak Rebbe Lezer the Mila, that on Shabbos, so we'll soon see that by Mila is Doicha Shabbos. Let's say you have a kid and he was born on Shabbos. His Mila is the bris Mila on Shabbos. So you can have either do a bris, you have to do a bris. But let's say you would have to make the knife. So the parak Rebbe Lezer the Mila holds like over here that Hu v'lei machshirin, he holds yes machshirin. You can also like make a knife. You can go out and you can take a piece of metal and you can sharpen it. You can go buy it probably. You can do whatever you have to do in order to make a bris milah on Shabbos. We don't pass like that. So if you're also Hu v'lei machshirin, you can do what you need for eichel nefesh, but not for the preparation to eichel nefesh. You're gonna go shopping on Yom Tov, go get a pot. Can't do that, right? So he says also levadoi v'loi mila, shaloi bismana. So mila you can do, but let's say the kid was born and his bris is not on Shabbos, and then it comes out that he's ready. He got well for Shabbos. You can't do it, right? We all know this. That's what usually comes out on Sunday because they can't do it close to Shabbos, etc. So they do it Sunday. So now the Gemara says that. Because otherwise we would be able to do this from a kal v'chaymer. So now the Gemara is going to say, I think maybe we're going to stop over here. If we did Rav Ashi now, Rabbi say, so it would probably run us into Daf Chaf Hey, because it's a long sentence, and also it's a short daf, so we'll save it for tomorrow. But I did want to speak out a little bit of the things that we were talking about, and I have a few minutes, so I'm going to use it. Okay, if you don't mind. So 1 second. First of all, I'm going to the back of the Masifta. I know some people have the Masifta. If you want, you can follow along with me. So in the halacha section, so they bring something very interesting over here. And then I'll tell you something from one of the other sources. So, so we said the shaila, what I mentioned about saying ala nisim in, or at least even a kind of an abridged ala nisim in bracha me'ein shalosh, which is what we call ala michya. So they say, why not? So remember I mentioned Reb Chaim. So before Reb Chaim, so the Marami Rutenberg says very simply, he says that Me'ein Gimel lo yala alev ish. It's impossible. Nobody will ever say such a thing. Because he says that there's no such thing as hodah, so then memela. Reb Chaim says a very interesting thing. Reb Chaim says as follows. I'm cutting to the chase just to give you the bottom line. It says, Ein la'askabal me'ein askaru shem brachos bifnei atzman. He brings a raya that you never say in ala michya, bracha me'ein shalosh, it's called in the language of Chazal, except something that is an entire bracha. And since ala nisim is only stuck in as not a separate bracha, but it's a part of Eidah, so Reb Chaim brings, and he brings this a little bit from a Talmid of Rabbeinu Yaina, but he says that, for instance, that's why Havdalah also, when we say ala michya, let's say by Havdalah time, so Havdalah is not a bracha by itself, it's Atachanan Tano, is included in Atachain Eladam Das. So Reb Chaim says anything that's not an extra bracha, he says, is not included in ala michya. Okay, now, very interesting. From this Gemara, it seems that there's an equation between Yom Tov, the Neris of Shabbos, and the Neris of Yom Tov. more or less. So there's a famous machlokes in the Prisha. The Prisha is a commentary on the Torah, one of the Mefarshim on the Torah. So he brings from his mother a chiddush, and listen how he refers to his mother. He says, V'latza b'milin mi yuchol milahalos al sefer l'saper roiv goydel tiferes yikar ma'alois ha'isha ha'chashuv ha'gevir ha'tzinu ha'chasida v'yishara ha'loi hi'imi meirasi rabbanos moras beila. He says, what was his mother mechadish? That he says, shebitos hanoshim adlokosan haneris b'yomtiv tuusim b'shneim. The ladies make two mistakes. So the second mistake, first mistake is not negaris tonight. Hatos hasheni, mashenoigas hanoshim la'adlik neresel shel yomtiv achesh ispalu akol arvis. So he says that when do the women light? They light by Ma'ariv, late. A lot of our women do. And I'll tell you, Chiddush Pella, we're coming up to Pesach, and Mitzvah Shem Pesach, there's a second day of Seder. So by the second Seder, a lot of the ladies forget to light. Everybody, especially this year, who knows, the basic lady's going to be very tired. There's all sorts of things going on, Corona. And some people even told me that it's the first Seder also that they forget to light. But I think that it's mostly by the second Seder. So he says that his mother said that this is a mistake because since we equate Shabbos and Yom Tov by Adlokas Neiris from this sugya, she was a very lumdish lady. So she brought a raya from our sugya that you should light when you light the Shabbos candles, which is whatever the Zman is. Lamaisa, we have a choice. Some people hold like the Prisha's mother, and some people don't, and they're both very, very good. Okay, maybe I'll just tell you one more thing over here. This is, Mamish comes out of our sugya. I'm just trying to pick the choicest geschmacka things over here. There's a tremendous chiddush in the Sfas Emes. So the Sfas Emes says that if a chayla eats on Tisha B'Av, so he should say nachem in benching. So he says that nachem is just like the Persume Nisa. The Persume Nisa, what do we do on Chanukah and Purim? We spread the word of each of those miracles. So he says on Nachem, we also have to spread the word of what happened. So he says, even though Nachem is only a Durabanan, the Ramah disagrees with this Sfas Emes. The Ramah says that Amiris Nachem is only a Durabanan, and there's no Persume Nisa. But the Sfas Emes says that he can say Nachem, a person that's eating on Tisha B'Av, because B'Tisha B'Av chamura k'may pirsam anes b'amiras al nisim b'Chanukah Purim. That telling the story of what happened on Tisha B'Av is just in the bad sense, the tragic sense, as bad as telling the story of Chanukah and Purim. So I just want to end with this, that, Bais Hashem Yisbarach will be all over this miserable situation that we're all in, Bais Hashem Yisbarach, this Nisayan, and we're going to come back and we're going to tell the story. And there's going to be a lot of little nisim. I heard many, many little nisim already, and there's more and more and more. So we'll have to tell the story, even though it'll be a tragic story, because there were people that died already, loyalenu, and there are people that are sick now, chas v'shalom, that they shouldn't get worse. They should have a refuah shalema. But there'll be a lot of bad things to say. But we'll also tell the story of all the niflayas that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us during this time, and that will be like Nachem, because it's a nechama. They should have taka only nechamas, Yeshuas, and good things be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach.